Well, it's another beautiful day here in Wanganui, and I'm going to meet Carmen Simmonds, an artist who works with glass.
My life is about making glass. I don't have anything else other than making it, teaching it, living and breathing it. I predominantly make cast glass dresses. I've worked with glass because it's just so beautiful. It's just lovely media to work with. You can make anything you want out of it. And it illuminates, it's luscious and it's sexy and it's a great way to express my femininity. Yeah. My first exhibition that I ever had was when I started making the dancing girls, based on my daughter and her quirkiness and trying to grow into her body and things like that. So I did a series of them. I think as an artist, some things move you sometimes. I went to the Japanism exhibition in Te Papa, and that really, really moved me to see those beautiful materials and the history behind them. Anyway, that inspired me to do my next series of work, the Grand Pacific kimonos. Drawing on my Pacific roots, being in New Zealand, I used colour and texture and layering with a basic kimono design. They were very cool. Enjoyed them. As my work started to evolve, I realised that I was really interested in the colonial woman, and I was really interested in the period of costume of that time. And then I shifted out here to this beautiful spot about 15 kilometres outside of Wanganui, the area of Brunswick. I found out a little bit about the history of the place. It was settled in 1850 by a Colonel Hewitt, and he married a young girl of 15 called Ellen Hewitt, and I found out about her little struggles, and I thought, oh my God, this is what my work's about. It's about the colonial woman and what they went through. I began making a series of work called the apron dresses, based on the apron that women wore in their day-to-day chores. I produced 6 dresses. The main one was called Mrs. Hewitt. She was a black dress, and she was based on Ellen that lived here 150 years ago. I just wanted to show you a few sights of the toy farm where our studio is. I wanted to talk about the story of Ellen Hewitt, who actually settled here, who inspired me for my black dress. She came here in 1854. She was engaged at 14 and a half and married at 15. No, she was a child bride. She must have been quite a strong girl, I think, to have been able to manage here, but she did have some scary times.
And these were the land wars?
Yeah, the land wars.
Yeah.
There was always threats of the hau or the gangs coming through, the rebels, and they were always out to get farmers that had settled here. Colonel Hewitt, their husband, he was a negotiator for the government. He could speak fluent Maori, so he had to deal with them all the time. By the time Ellen was 20 years old, she had 4 kids. It was really hard for her. And whenever things escalated up Taranaki, quite often she'd had to be shipped back into Wanganui. Anyway, one day they got woken and they just had to get out quickly, and James Hewitt, her husband, and one of the farm workers stayed here. But in the end, they shot him. He was beheaded and his heart was taken and he was left. It was very sad for his wife, who was only 20 and with 4 children. When we first bought this place, I felt there was something here, and when I found out the history of it, I thought, oh yeah. And I do feel really strange sometimes, especially when I'm walking in the bush, because we've got 20 acres here and it's really dense, untouched bush. You can just imagine the things that went on. You get goose pimples sometimes. I feel scared. Sometimes. For me, it was like resolving a lot of issues that I'd had with my work. I knew that I wanted to talk about something more concrete and substantial. Putting it into these dresses meant a lot. Even though they're just dresses, they actually had a meaning. One of the other pieces in the apron series was called Wahine. Wahine is a dress that talks about the physical struggles of living here on this land, and the colours that represent the dirt and the grass and the bush, and mixing up with the prettiness of a dress. I just wanted to talk about holding the strength in, or keeping your strength, keeping your resolve of working on this land here. Another one in that series was called My Fair Lady, and that was rags to riches story, which is really obvious, but it was a white dress with little blue flowers, and I just wanted to make it really pretty and attractive to the viewer. That was my Cinderella story, really. It's still based on the colonial woman. Fern is probably my favourite dress because it represents the New Zealand bush. I found lace that looked like ferns. It had this beautiful curve on it. Because it's something that I really love, is the bush. I wanted to make this one dress that was about that. The method that I use, I chose because I could get the sculptural forms and the texture. I use a lost wax casting technique. With my pieces, I really want to get the dress thing going on, so I need to get the fabric, and I need to get the form and the shape. So I start off with a real dress that I've either made or found, and I make a rubber mould of that, and then I pour wax into the rubber mould, and then I work the wax. I make a plaster silicone mould of it, steam it out, put it in the kiln, put the glass in, and yeah, so many days later you have a glass piece of what you actually started off with. Depending on the size of the piece, something like this would be in the kiln for about a week. That's 5 kgs of glass. As an example, the apron dress was in the kiln 2.5 weeks. That's 20 kgs of glass. The current work that I've got is in the Sargent Gallery that I've worked with another artist, a collaboration with. Leonie's a weaver, I'm a glass caster, so we've worked together to make a piece that represents 2 cultures.
So what's the name of the piece?
The piece is called Those Who Should Venture, and it's based on an ad that was put in a newspaper in the UK in the 1850s for women to come out to New Zealand. They were advertising, and so they said those who should venture should be of a hardy disposition and of no artistic inclination, and so on and so forth. We wanted to talk about the Whanganui landscape and the women in the Whanganui landscape from 1800s. So it was a real mix of culture, and it was wearable, which was very cool. I mean, pretty much everything here is about Whanganui, with the plants and with the river and the flax and the sea. I have felt strongly about this for years, and being able to actually start the ball rolling with this piece has been a great experience, quite an emotional experience, really. It's a really important piece for me. I make glass dresses because, for one, I absolutely love dresses. I love dressing up, and I think for me it's my best form of expression is to actually make glass dresses. I'll keep doing them until, you know, for a little bit longer yet. How old am I? Yeah.
Well, for me, Carmen and her work really captures the creative spirit of the Whanganui region.